In today's episode of the Pathmo Presents podcast, I'm here with Joe Boyle today, who's hailing over from Salt Communications. He's the co-founder and CEO of the company, and what Salt Communications is doing is essentially allowing organizations that need privacy to secure conversations between their global workforce. And essentially, that's what they do. They support to make communication secure. Today, we want to be learning much more about this, what this actually means, and also how Joe thinks about growth for the company in the digital arena. So welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
Very good. So maybe give us that 360 overview. I mean, I gave a brief insight, but you are the expert. What is Salt Communications all about?
Yeah, so I suppose Salt Communications is set up in the post-BlackBerry era, right? For those organizations that maybe used to use BlackBerry and think of it as a trusted, secure, highly secure device and network that underlies that. You know, when the iPhone appeared in 2007 and Android in 2009, it really did change the game because it built an ecosystem that allowed you to have an overlay communications network. And, you know, we've seen many big communication systems being built that are aimed at consumers. And, you know, if you think of WhatsApp with, you know, billions of users, Signal with, you know, many millions of users and other, you know, big consumer apps like that. We're kind of the antithesis of that, in that we are a highly secure, closed network that is not one big, large open system. So we give the organizations the ability to own and run their own small, secure communication system. Mm-hmm. Okay. When I say small, it's for the size of their base. It scales elegantly from, you know, a small number of users up to many thousands of users as required.
Yeah, makes sense. This was probably more in like relation to like a WhatsApp. Nobody has as many employees as WhatsApp has users.
So, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe tell us a little bit more about the companies that are leveraging the platform. What type of companies are they? What industries? You know, what are the use cases to use Salt Communications?
Yeah, I mean the end users of our system, and we kind of try to make it look and feel like a consumer app for the end user. So, you know, usability is absolutely paramount. The end users are, you know, important people who talk about important stuff and they can't be in the same room together, right? Mm-hmm. So it really allows them to drive productivity. We have, you know, many customers in the legal use space, mm-hmm. Where lawyers will speak to clients, and they'll also have internal communications as well, and then for governments. So they want us to be part of their internal communication system to allow teams to work and communicate around sensitive matters, no matter where they are and whatever network they're on.
I see. So maybe let's deep dive a little bit into the legal case. Like, are we talking like smaller legal firms? Is it international legal firms? How are, you know, maybe tell us more sort of, you know, how does a legal firm get started, and what are sort of the main benefits that they're actually getting using the system?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is driven by their client base, where they have concerns. You know, if you're dealing with a law firm, it's usually something that's important to you, that you're taking advice on a matter around. Mm-hmm. And we make ourselves available to law firms to use with clients. Some law firms will buy the product off us and offer it as a service for free to their clients, or they'll pass it right through. So the way we package it is very flexible, mm-hmm. and it really is based on how the law firm wants to buy it. So that's an important thing for us. The types of law firm, it's small and large law firms. You know, the matter type is important. So for litigation, there's a lot of sensitivity around communications between clients, between law firms, between you know, users within a particular law firm. And we have the way we set up our system, it really does control the lines of vision within the communications network as well. And you may find that if there's a subject matter expert that is advising the law firm or the client around a particular matter, that you can create effectively a hotline. So that one person who maybe is the world expert in this, or who has some very significant information, when you bring them onto the SALT system, they really only see one or two other people on that matter. And you keep them on for as short or as long as you need them, and then you can gracefully remove them from the system. So it's seat-based, it's very dynamic, and it really does fit into the use case around matter management within law firms.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. One thing I'm curious though is who within the law firm would be responsible for this type, onboarding this type of technology? Is that like actually an owner? Is that like, do they have like, a head of communications or operations or IT? Like who's raising their hand in those law firms getting started?
It's a great question. And, what I've learned over the years is that there's no real defined structure for a law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And often the very large law firms will have, a head of risk, a CISO effectively, and a large team, and they'll have a big spend, right? Mm-hmm. And, if we can become part of that operational cost for them, then that's great. However, often we find that, within a partnership, within a law firm, you have a senior partner who has a really important client talking about very, very sensitive stuff, and they need to get it irregardless of, what the IT spend is or budget is, and they're happy to fund that with their client maybe. And for us, the challenge there is to bring the IT team along with them. So we need to make sure that it's compliant. And we need to make sure that we can prove easily that it's highly secure and tick all the boxes. And sometimes, they'll have a policy in place that basically says no instant messaging, no communication systems, because, they can't, from a GDPR perspective, we don't know where the information's lying, and if it's sensitive customer information and client information, and that's really putting reputation at jeopardy if that those systems are hacked. So we allow them to clearly see that we're compliant, that they're in control of their own communication system, that they own the information, and that's what they pay us a premium for.
Yep.
So and then at the other end of the scale, there's very small law firms where they maybe have a managed service provider who is providing all of their technology needs, and we will go in there through the managed service provider and allow them to own and control the communication system on behalf of the law firm.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about how people, learn about SOLT communication. Like, what's a typical journey of somebody, maybe not being aware yet, but then actually, slowly learning about you guys, getting started? Maybe tell us a little bit about sort of the key client acquisition channels.
Yeah, I mean, we do all of the social media marketing stuff. So we're doing LinkedIn targeting. We're paying for ranking in Google. We spend a lot on SEO. Mm-hmm. But we try to produce thought leadership content with our blogs. We do webinars, which are very popular, that are short snippets, at 15-minute, and it's around some interesting technical problem or capability that we have, that we get a lot of questions from our customer base and clients. Yep. And that proves quite interesting. We see that people often engage with this content before, so that, we often have a well-briefed customer by the time they get to us, and they have a lot of assumptions and they want to test them out with us around our product. And that's an opportunity for us, obviously, to inform them. We try, we're selling our product, and it's important that our customer trusts us. So it's not a pushy sales process with us. We try really from the core to understand the customer problems and to help them find the best solution, and hopefully SOLT is part of that solution. So it's very much a consultative, challenging sale where it's not a hard push, and that journey can last somewhere between 1 month and 6 to 9 months if it's a large organization.
Sense.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious though, as a follow-up to this, you mentioned SEO, you mentioned social media. What role do you attribute to the website? Like, how do you, as a CEO and co-founder, what's your take on the website? What role does it play in, revenue generation?
The website is critical for us, right? It's it's the main, it's the container of all of the interest. I mean, I'm kind of defining what a website is, right? But it's a way for us to credentialize ourselves. So we need to show that we understand the problem. So we're trying to create a narrative in our website and the story that we're building there, that if this is your problem, we have the answer, right? That's what we're, and then by having a lot of live content on that, or that's regularly updated. I think the blogs, I think the way we use social media are really important as well. But the website is often not the first place that a customer, they'll maybe have a conversation, or they'll see us somewhere else, and then they'll go to the website to credentialize us, to make sure that what we do is what they think, and to learn a little bit more about that. So it's a critical part in the early journey of all of our customers, I believe. They need, we spend a lot of time talking about it, generating new content, and we're trying not to make it too heavy, because there's not a huge amount of tolerance for very heavy content on websites, right?
Makes complete sense. I'm curious though, as a CEO, right? I mean, obviously the marketers have always a different angle, but as a CEO, like what, right off the bat, what do you personally feel is sort of the strength of the website versus where do you see room for improvement?
I mean, from our perspective, we'd like probably more video content. We think that it's always good to have, testimonials, the more of those. And it's funny with our customer base, there's often a lot of sensitivity around testimonials, and they, by the very nature of needing a secure communication system, our customers are people who feel under threat, who believe that what they're using isn't secure enough, and that a skilled adversary could intercept or use it as if they're using the wrong tools, use it as an attack vector to get at them. So that's a challenge for us, is to get public referenceability. So we work at that, but we try to build reference cases and use cases that we put on the website that reflect real deployments. And we have some nice referenceability with Mishcon de Rea, who are a really awesome law firm in London that do very, very interesting stuff. And we've worked with them for many years, and they're a great public reference for us. So I suppose from my perspective, it's always about referenceability. It's always about up to date. We don't want to make it. Some of the criticisms in the past has been around a very feature focused website as opposed to problem solving focused, and that's something that we've really tried to work hard at to improve.
Very cool.
I mean, you're asking me my opinion on it as a point in time opinion, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's an evolving conversation, and it's always there. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk with you about the fact, I mean, you're a CEO, a co-founder, you wear many hats in the company, been being there from the start. So how do you keep educating yourself in terms of like, what do you read? How do you filter? There's so much stuff out there on how to like run a company and how to grow a company. Like, what's your sort of go-to places, and where do you say no? I'm rather not gonna go that rabbit hole.
It's a good question. I love a book. I love to hold a book and read it. So I probably would go through all different types of I suppose industry technology. But maybe do one or two a month, just on different things. At the moment, I'm reading about OKRs. It's something that we do informally, where we set the company objectives, but I really think that we need to formalize that more. So doing a lot of reading around that, and that how the company can do this self-improvement. And obviously with everything like this, you need to get everybody on board. So I believe that it's my responsibility to become the expert in it initially, in order to sell it, across the team. And we have a very flat hierarchy here. So it's we all kind of engage together. So I like, you know, reading the physical books. I have a kind of an Amazon account that gets hit pretty regularly, and then I would spend a lot of time on the press, you know, reading New York Times, Independent, just, you know, whatever, BBC websites, Al Jazeera, you know, different sources to get a different take on things. A lot of what we do is very much tied into, you know, major political events across the globe. So I would have a keen interest on staying up to date with, you know, a lot of the major macro events that are happening around the world, as well as, you know, looking for the content on, you know, new and emerging threats. So I would spend a lot of time on Gartner, who we work with, reading up on industry bests, and I suppose just looking for information on, you know, the latest Pegasus threats and how they're being used and ending up on people's phones and what impact they're having, because they're the things that are top of mind for our clients. Yeah. And I need to be kind of up to date with all of that stuff.
100%. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I want to jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yeah.
Very good. What's the last book that you read?
The last, East of Eden.
Mm-hmm. What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Growth.
Mm-hmm. If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role today?
There are no boundaries in tech. I think lead generation. I think it's a big challenge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
I sleep well. I think I work hard during the day, and I have a very supportive team around me, and including my investors. And we're of the opinion that, you know, as long as you're doing an honest day's work and giving it everything you've got, you can sleep well every night. So I don't worry too much.
Very good. And if today would be your first day, right, working on Salt Communications, what would be the one advice that you would give yourself?
Be patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, there's so much to do, and you need to you know, compartmentalize it and do the, if you know, can I isolate the most important things and get them done, then that's the best way to actually improve the organization. Because when you look back over the last 6 months, you can see how much you've achieved. In the past, I've tried to do too much in parallel, and that is a real productivity killer. So you know, focus on the most important things, get those done well, and life just becomes easier. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Joe, really appreciate you being with us on the show today. I want to give you the very last word, right? If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed today about Salt Communications, what's the one thing that they should remember?
Salt Communications is different from every other communication system that's out there, in that instead of you being part of one big global, you know, open system, we allow you to take control and own your own communication system. That's the most important thing for us. So that when I walk out of the room and after a deployment, my customer is happy that they're in control of their own communication system.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfinder Presents.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.